What would you do if your children were suffering from physical ailments and none of the conventional medicine was helping? What would you do in that situation? Would you give up or would you pursue and research and try to figure things out on your own? Salam alaikum. My name is Haleh Banani, and I am really passionate about this topic today about food being medicine because my family and I really struggled for years. From 15 years ago, I had a son who had eczema all over his body. We took him to the best physicians with in different parts of the world with the best education, and they didn't have the answers. And it left us searching and looking for answers. We wanted to relieve him of the itchiness. We wanted to relieve him of all of that he was experiencing. And that led us to changing the way that we were eating. And in that process of doing food intolerance tests and finding out all the allergies that we had, we were able to find some relief and some cure. And today I have a mother that and a doctor, mashallah, that was faced with that same challenge. Dr. Nosheen Ahmad, who is a toxicologist with over 20 years of experience, was faced with the challenge of having her kids experience gastrointestinal problems, migraines, other issues, and she was not getting the answers. And that led her to become super passionate about healthy eating. So today, I'm very honored to have Dr. Nosheen Ahmad on. Assalamu alaikum.
Like,
Mashallah, you have a very strong background in science. You have the toxicology. How did that experience or having that experience of being a toxicologist help you in discovering what's going on with your children?
uh, so my job is really risk assessment of and for products and all of their ingredients. So it is tied. We look at all of the data that is generated for an ingredient before, and then when you putting out a product, you have to calculate exposure numbers, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's
So you're
complete.
one of those when you read the ingredients, you know exactly what the harms are, right? It's not mumbo jumbo to you. It makes sense.
Right, right,
All
yes.
right.
But overall, people don't have to worry. Everything has good safety numbers. It's just that there's a lot of new data coming out and a lot of new information coming out on how the immune system reacts to those ingredients. And I think that's a new and emerging field, and maybe not as adequately addressed in my field. Because they just didn't think it was that important. And now with all the new data over the years, there's, attributing a lot of diseases due to the immune system and
Okay.
it overreacting, or how the immune system tries to address the issue, which then leads to so many symptoms.
Okay. Tell me what your experience was as a mother. What was going on with your kids? What turned on this new passion, fascination with healthy eating? Can you kind of take us through that experience?
Sure, it started with my daughter, and she had uncontrolled vomiting for no reason as a child. And the doctors gave her some antacids, and we used them sporadically, and then she'd be okay, and then it would come back.
How old
Um,
was she?
Probably around 7, 8.
Oh, wow, that's young. So from 7 to 8, she was vomiting uncontrollably, and you have no idea why.
Right. And then she would complain a lot about stomach pain. And, you just say, oh, it's okay. Oh, you'll be fine. You think the child is, you don't really take it that seriously or look into it to that level. And the doctors didn't take it seriously either. So you move on.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, by the time she hit middle school, she had reflux and she started getting migraines. Then by the time she hit high school, it was a migraine 3 times a week.
Oh,
She was
wow.
becoming non-functional. She would wake up in the morning with such severe nausea and vomiting, she couldn't function at all.
So it's
So
debilitating. It's completely debilitating. How did that affect you? Like as a mom, watching her just, suffer like that. She's nauseous, she's vomiting, she has headaches. How did that affect like the quality of her life, the quality of your life as a family?
yeah, the worry, the stress, the inability to help. I,
Helplessness.
Yes, helplessness to, I went to so many doctors, different pediatricians, different GI specialists. They ran all kinds of tests, neurologists, ENT,
And what would they
allergists.
say? What was the
We did a sleep
verdict?
study.
What were they saying?
Well, we did sleep study, we did MRI, we did CAT scan, we did other more invasive tests. And, you know, the one GI specialist just said, I don't understand what's going on.
Wow. Just threw up
And
his, and that's what we got when we went with, Karim used to itch himself from the eczema to the point that he was bleeding. And we
yeah.
went to the best of the best, allergist. And he said, there's no, he goes, my daughter has the same issue and I can't help her. So I can't help your son. So it is a very, you feel very desperate, right? You feel like, okay, if the best of the best can't help, what are we going to do?
Right. And this last GI doctor said, I'm having a lot of patients come in with this in the morning. They feel these issues, but I don't really understand what's going on. So at that time, the ENT had said, do this surgery on her. And he said, okay, so when you schedule the surgery for with the ENT, I'll do an endoscopy and we'll see what's going on. But I just was not comfortable. I just knew in my heart that surgery was not for her. She was already so delicate, so frail, underweight. And I knew that surgery was just too much for her to handle. And so after that, I gave up with all of them and I just started searching on the internet and I found the Institute of Functional Medicine. And from there, I
You saw the
was able,
light.
yeah, just,
You
a
saw the
whole,
light, functional medicine. So tell us a little bit more about that. What is it about functional medicine? How is it effective? And what kind of results did you see?
functional medicine is addressing the root cause of the problem as opposed to addressing the symptom.
Mhm.
And I was lucky enough to find a functional medicine pediatrician in Frisco. And I took her there. And the first thing she said was, it's the antacids that's causing the reflux. So she weaned her off the antacids. But, she's a pediatrician who has many patients. She has limited time. So then we had to, go outside of what she initiated and triggered in my head and all then related, that resulted in me doing all the searches and going from there.
And what
But
did you do? What was the issue? What did you notice that is the issue and how did you address it?
one, we did the food intolerance test. We did the food allergy test. We found out her gut was in really bad shape, extreme
Mm.
leaky gut. She was reacting to everything. So we had to put her on a rotational diet. She had to go on, which means that you eat one thing one day, you can't touch that thing for the next 4 days.
Wow, so
Uh,
that takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of organization. And for those of you who are not familiar with the food intolerance test, this is blood work that is done. And then they tell you a list of things that you're allergic to, which sometimes, if you do an allergy test, which is on the skin, it doesn't pick up on the food intolerance, right? So I always recommend for my clients who have these kind of issues. I'm not a nutritionist, but I know that from my own personal experience with the family and working with so many of my clients who suffer from different, like the intestinal issues, right? And whenever there is a question mark, they call it what is it called? IBS, right? And you generally IBS is a result of just having some kind of food allergy that you're not aware of. You're eating something that's reacting with your body, and you just need to figure out what those are and avoid it. And it makes things so much better. So just for layman term.
Yes, and you need to give your gut time to heal. And that was the procedure with her. We had to remove the items, give her gut time to heal. She had to go vegan for a little while because she was reacting to every animal protein.
Mm.
But the good thing was that over the period of 6 months, we were able to introduce foods back in. Her gut healed, her reflux disappeared. We had to use
MashaAllah.
a variety of products.
Right.
But she got there, and alhamdulillah, now she's 20, she's doing great.
MashaAllah, that is remarkable. The fact that within 6 months you were able to reverse a lot of the issues, the symptoms that she had, and the vomiting went away, nausea.
Yes, yes. The reflux went away, the nausea went away. She
MashaAllah. And
woke
the
up
migraines that she was having 3 times a week, that must have been
no more.
such a relief. So she's
No.
a believer.
Yes,
He is a bully.
she's studying pre-med and she wants to do functional medicine.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that. You know, and subhanAllah, that's sometimes the wisdom behind going through certain experiences in your life. I always say there is wisdom to everything that happens, and many times it has to do when you personally experience the discomfort, whether it's the headaches and nausea, and then there's just going to be so much genuine empathy that she's going to have for her patients, inshallah. So that's fascinating. But that wasn't it. You had also a son who was, tell us
Yes.
about your son.
Oh, my son's story is a bit more difficult. He got 4 vaccinations when he was 5 years old. Right after that, those 4 shots, he started having patchiness of hair loss. Took him to a
Oh,
dermatologist. She said it's alopecia.
okay.
At that time, I was like, okay. And so she said, it's okay, it'll come and go. If it gets even worse, then we'll do steroids. And unfortunately, after 4 years, it did get a lot worse. And he, poor guy, would wake up in the morning and say, Mom, there's so much hair on my pillow.
Oh,
And, he was only in first grade.
oh, that's very
So it was
traumatic.
very, oh, it
Very
was so,
traumatic. And the kids are just, they are brutal at that
yeah.
age, right? What did he experience bullying and teasing at that point?
He did. Kids are kids. It's okay. They don't know better at that age. And yes, he did. They would say to him, "Oh, you have 50 hair left." Oh, So it took about 9 months, and then all his hair fell off. And during that time, the dermatologist did steroids, oral, topical,
Nothing was
but
helping.
nothing helped. Nothing helped.
Nothing helped. And so what did you decide to do to help him?
We did the food intolerance test, food allergy test, found out he has gluten allergy, soy allergy, nut allergy, dairy.
Welcome
Um,
to our world. The long list
and
of what you cannot eat. But it's such a blessing to know what it is, right? Because I know before we did the test, and we just like, you think it's randomly happening. Like, what did I eat? What happened? But once you know, once you do the test, at first it's a little bit sad because you have to say goodbye to all your beloved food. But
yeah,
then you're like, once you avoid it, then you see that you don't get the same, you don't get
yeah.
the same symptoms. So once you got the food intolerance test and you stopped the food, did it change? Did it help?
So yes, so his eyelashes came back.
Oh,
We saw sporadic hair growth on his body, and then we introduced eggs back. He was okay.
okay.
Then we introduced dairy back, and then his eyelashes fell out again.
Oh, so
So
you
dairy
knew.
was
You're
a
like, this is
big,
not
yeah,
something you can compromise on. Okay.
dairy is not something he could do. He cannot do gluten. Soy and nuts is a true allergy for him, so we just removed that anyway.
Mm,
So we're still working. He has a significant amount of growth on his body. A lot of it has, it's still very sporadic on his head, on his eyelashes and his eyebrows. And we've had issues that if we do eat out, and we try to be as careful as possible, but I guess there's contamination or uh,
yeah.
whatever the
Cross
reason, but
contamination is
we have
okay.
setbacks, and then he
Right.
loses hair again, and then
Oh.
so it's a difficult journey with him.
It
Uh,
is very challenging, as a mom to go through this. And, I know Nushin and her family on a personal level, and our sons are very close friends. And so we have, we go to each other's home. And mashallah, what I notice about your son that has gone through this, he's such a happy young
he,
man, mashallah. And
alhamdulillah.
that is, that's a testimony to your upbringing, because many times when a child is experiencing this kind of, whether it's bullying because of weight, because of illness, whatever it is, it can really affect their self-esteem. But what I like is that he is just, mashallah, a confident, happy young man. So you guys have done your part in building him up, despite all of these challenges, mashallah.
And we have resorted to iman and religion, and praying, and
Mm,
when Allah gives you a challenge, he also gives you benefit. So
yes.
to try to not let him not have any resentment or anger or
Right.
Yeah.
The acceptance is so important. And, my son actually has a fatal, as you know, fatal allergy to peanuts. And
Mhm.
we figured that out very early on. I think he was 6 months old. And my husband adores peanut butter. So he decided to give him a lick, and he got all swollen, and we found out
Mhm.
he has a peanut allergy. So that has been a very big challenge for us, just making sure that people take it seriously, that they don't expose him to it. And that, I know, as a mom, every time, like from first grade, whenever I had to hand him over to the teachers and I would tell them about this fatal allergy, I would be in tears, because I was like, if they don't take it seriously, I could lose him, right? So it is a very emotional process. Having a child that has these kind of, the challenges, because many people don't understand. They're not very, maybe, empathetic, because they haven't experienced it.
Right. Right.
Did you find like your community was supportive? Were they understanding, or did you feel ostracized?
Oh no, alhamdulillah. Community was very supportive. The school he goes to, the friends at school, very
Okay.
supportive. Yes.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Well, I think it's all about the, biohack, right? There's Dr. Mark Hyman that he talks about that there needs to be a paradigm shift, right? There needs to be a paradigm shift. Instead of just looking at the symptoms, you have to look at the causes. Instead of looking at the organs, you have to look at the organism. And this shift has to occur, because if we don't, we find that more and more people are getting sick, and it's actually affecting the mental health as well. There's that correlation between what you're eating and your, like, depression and anxiety. So it is, what do you feel is critical about the biohack?
So there's a lot of things that we can do. There's a lot of good testing out there to get more information. Now there's tons and tons of products that are
Mhm.
tested and tried and are really helping people. So you just have to have an open mind, uh,
Mhm.
think of these other things that are out there, and just have willpower, and uh, reach out to all of these other people that are out there. Go on the internet. I like to read lots of books. I like to listen to a
Mhm.
lot of lectures. There's so much valuable information out there that can really help you.
It can. And, this is very, near and dear to my heart, because, as I said, our whole family of five, we have, food allergies, and that's been a challenge. But on a much more critical note, both my parents had autoimmune disorders. They had the neurodegenerative diseases. My mom suffers from ALS. My father, Allah yarhamhu, passed away from Alzheimer. And, I look at the way that they ate, or, what they did. And, in so many ways, I want to emulate them. But as far as that, I really want to change. And I wanted to revolutionize the way I live my life in order to avoid those. So for me, getting healthy is not just about weight loss, right?
Yeah,
It's so much more than that. It's about living a life that is, a quality life, being able to be healthy, being able to be full of life and energy, and not
yeah.
full of diseases.
Yeah. And then also, it doesn't have to be where you're just stuck in something. Let's say you want to follow keto, paleo, low carb, whatever you want to do, you can cycle. You can say, hey, I'm going to do this for X amount of time and
Right.
then give it a rest. Then I'm going to go back and do this. And when you heal your gut and heal your body, you become more in tune with the symptoms that your body is telling you. And
Right.
then you'll realize things and you'll say, hey, okay, I can't do this. This is working for me, this is not, and this is what I can maintain. And it's okay to cycle. I'm totally
Right.
a big proponent of cycling. So
It really does help. I started off, my husband actually was the one who, for a year he was talking to me about paleo, and I was just kind of like, I don't know if I want to give up my bread and rice. and then he got all my friends on board, and they were all ready to do it. So we did the paleo diet, and we did it because we felt, okay, it's only 30 days. We can last 30 days. After 30 days, we felt phenomenal. We were 40 and we were feeling like we were 25. So that was, and we kept that up for about a year and a half. We've been gluten-free for over 15 years, and I'm actually so grateful for the fact that my son had that eczema. There's always that blessing in disguise, because if he didn't have that, we wouldn't have ever known about this kind of healthy eating. So I feel like it has improved our ability to focus, right? Because as soon as you have bread or you have this mental fog, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so the being gluten free, eating, and the keto, I tried, like, let's say at 6 months, and I saw the results, very effective, but it wasn't something I could do ongoing. So, like you
Yeah.
said, being able to alternate is it's very critical.
And it's actually good for your microbiome, So when you change things up, your gut bacteria change. So it's okay to switch from things, after periods of time. It's
Right.
totally
So everything keeps going back to the gut. I keep hearing about how you have to fix the gut. And it's something, again, my husband's been telling me, you got to fix your gut. I always tell him he plants the seed, everyone else waters it, and then, then it goes
okay.
into fruition. But the thing is that now I'm recognizing how important it is. And I think it's something I've neglected, and I want to learn more about it, and I want to fix it. How important is the gut?
Everything starts in the gut.
Everything is in the
It is
gut.
key. It is key.
You
Yes,
know
that is the
what's
basis to heal.
okay,
Yes.
you know what I got sold on when I found out serotonin, my happy hormone, is in the gut. That's when I'm like,
Yeah.
no one's messing with my happy hormone. So that got my attention. I'm like, okay, we're going to heal the gut. And
Yeah.
during this pandemic, I feel that it's been a big turning point. And it's been actually a litmus test for people's faith, their perseverance, their optimism. It is a litmus test, because there are some people who chose to just kind of give up, right? They gave up. There are a lot of people who just turned to emotional eating. They became very pessimistic. There's a rise in depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
Suicide is up 400%
Mm.
since the pandemic. So it is a big turning point, and it is a litmus test. And you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do during this time? Are you really going to just give up and be pessimistic, or are you going to strive and thrive? And I personally chose to thrive, and one of the things I wanted to do is be more committed to improving my health. So I started the Get Healthy with Haleh. It's healthy Muslim women, and we have Dr. Nosheen on there. We have also nutritionists, my dear friend Suzanne Barakat, and we have cancer survivor Shireen Khatib, and mashallah, it is a group that we're just wanting to provide this service, a free service for the community to help women get their health back, regain that sense of the confidence and taking charge of their life. What do you think about the group so far, and what's your perspective about, like, instead of just surviving, you thrive in an environment like this?
From my friends that have joined, and many people that I know, they find it very motivating, very encouraging, and all the wonderful food items that women are posting are just
Yes.
excellent. It
It's
just
scrumptious, right? My mouth starts watering. I'm looking at all this. I should require to have tasters, right? I would love to taste everything. And people, they're just from all over the world. And you guys can get on here. It's for free. Get Healthy with Haleh, and it's healthy Muslim women. And we have excellent advice. You have been providing wonderful advice about, healing the gut, what to do. As far as improving the digestion. So, what are some things? A person may be listening to this and they're overwhelmed, right? A lot of this, unless you have gone through this process of researching and learning and making little steps at a time, it can be quite overwhelming, because suddenly a person is like told, you can't eat anything you're eating now, right?
like Like my daughter's results. Oh my God. When we saw those results, I was like, what am I going to feed her?
Right, right. We felt the same way. It was like several pages long as far as
Yeah.
like what we cannot eat. But, I think the key, if we look at it from a psychological perspective, right? Focus on what you can eat, right? It's like when things are forbidden or if something is haram, there are a few things that are haram and then there's so many options of halal, right? So it's if you focus on what you can have, and I think having healthy alternatives, right?
Right. And then also the results, right? So for her, we had to give up so much, but within 2 weeks, she was
Mm,
so much better. You know,
mashallah.
the nausea in the morning went away very quickly. The reflux went away very quickly. And then, we realized, hey, this has been 2 weeks. You haven't had a migraine.
Oh,
So
so it's
just
worth
those,
it.
yeah, just those
It's
results are motivating.
right, right. There's the pleasure pain principle, and I've had to use that with myself and with a lot of clients who suffer from a lot of different kinds of addictions. And sometimes the addiction could be food addiction, right? You could be addicted to sugar, and it is just the same part of the brain lights up than, when
Mhm.
someone is having cocaine, right? So it's a very severe addiction, and it's about linking pain to the item that is bad for you, right? So whether that is whatever it is that is harmful. Let's say if someone is allergic to gluten and they can't have bread, you have to just create a negative association like this bread. What is it going to do to you? Oh, it's going to cause me bloating. I'm going to be foggy. I'm not going to think clear. I'm going to have migraines. Okay, and then you link a lot of pleasure to things that are good for you, like, oh, this salad is going to be amazing, my body's going to thank me. So I think that's probably something you had to do and help your kids to develop that.
Right, right. And that goes back to food is as medicine, right? So that's you have to consider this food, this amazing stuff that Allah provided us, and this is what's good for my body. This
Right.
item is not good for my body.
And it is a paradigm shift even in the way we eat, because, we usually associate fun times with eating and eating
Yeah.
junk, right?
Mhm.
And I'm noticing certain triggers, so there's a place, my husband and I go on the weekends, and it was by the lake, and anytime we used to go there, we'd get Cold Stone ice cream. And so I remember as soon as we drove up, my instinct was, ooh, ice cream. and and then I realized, no, I have a lot of people to answer to. I can't. And that's why accountability is so important. And I, created this for us to be accountability partners, but we do associate having fun with junking out, right?
Yeah.
And it also, from a psychological perspective, if parents used food as a reward, then, as soon as you feel sad, you want to turn to food. So it's kind of a deep issue, and it is important to look into it, because some, people try these different diets and then they give up, and
Yeah.
because they haven't addressed the deeper
Yes.
issues.
Right, right, right. And
So
then
how, yeah,
for the moms out there with younger children, start them young, start them now, introduce different
yes,
vegetables, widen
right.
their horizon.
And it is important to start them young, because, my daughter Layla was, probably around 4 when we started like paleo. And I remember we would always, the table, just we just had such healthy options. And once she came and she was crying, she said, Mama, everything is green. And she was so frustrated. And me and my son was like, there's no junk. And he confessed later that he would take white bread and put sugar, and it's like, I just needed junk. But, but what happened is that as they grew older, then they chose to be gluten free. Actually, Amir surpassed us in how healthy he was. Like we would be flexible and go to a restaurant. He's like, no, what kind of oil do they use? I'm like, oh, come on. so, so that kind of training, they complain
Mhm.
about it initially, but they feel so good when they eat it. So they
Yeah,
they end up choosing that when they can.
yeah, yeah. And you can learn your own body's level of tolerance, right? And then you
Right.
get accustomed that, hey, okay, I can handle this thing, this amount,
Right.
you know. and you learn that, and then it's okay.
Right. So there's so many gurus out there. There's so many like health gurus and so much conflicting information, right? So who do you know? How do you know who to follow?
Uh, well, as much as I can, I will post books to read and
Okay.
people that I like what they're saying. I understand, but it's not so much that it's conflicting information. It's because everybody's so different. It's
Mm,
everything is so bio individual.
right.
So one thing that works for you, it may not work for the other person.
Okay.
So it's really figuring out what your body needs, what works with your body.
Okay, all right. So you're going to be posting on the Get Healthy with Haleh, Healthy Muslim Women. You're going to tell us which books to read, which, people that you feel are, very trustworthy and you've had good experience. And you're going to be offering also like one-on-one consultation as well, inshallah.
Inshallah, we're both of us, we're working towards that. So we're, get that
Yes.
stuff.
And how important is it to get that guidance? Like especially if you have some like let's say severe medical issues, how important is it to work with a nutritionist rather than trying to figure it out on your own?
Also because maybe you need some information that you can give to your physician,
Okay.
and you need studies, you need a book, you need something to convince that physician with this line of thinking, with this way of thinking, or trying something, or ordering a specific test. Sometimes they're not willing to order that test, or so you need that help as well.
Okay, so the nutritionist will basically educate you on what tests you need to get, and they will guide you so that you're not overwhelmed because it's a very overwhelming process. So there are some questions. Thank you, sisters, for joining in. Mashallah, Sister Aisha is saying, do you recommend supplements like flaxseed supplements, calcium, magnesium, iron, or that's not good idea? Plus, I have what is it? Hiatal hernia or hiatus?
So if you can, let's see. If your gut is in really bad shape, you need to heal your gut first, and that may involve removing items that are irritating it. So food intolerance testing, I am a big proponent of that. It really, targets which ones you need to stay away from. Stay away from those items for a period of about 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months, depending on what your results show. And then you give your gut time to heal. During that time, you can use supplements to, fix the deficiency, bring you back to sufficiency. And then after your gut heals, then you rely on food and rely on getting all your nutrients from food.
Okay, so that's a difficult condition. So it's like when the esophagus, the opening is herniated, right? The condition
Yeah,
that she
I mean,
has, and it
yeah,
causes
I would leave that
reflux.
part. I would leave that part with the physician, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Let them deal with that one. Okay, this one, Sister Sadia is saying, where do we go for food intolerance testing?
So Quest Labs, LabCorp do provide some testing. So that is one option. You can get results from them. But there are a lot of better labs out there. Your doctor needs to be familiar with that lab, set up with that lab, and prescribe to that lab. And then if you search the internet, there's all kinds of other companies that do, intolerance, food sensitivity testing as well.
Right. So the key is intolerance tests, right? Not just food
It's
allergy.
right. Allergy is IgE,
Hmm.
intolerance or sensitivity is IgG. So
Hmm.
you need both of those numbers.
Okay. And it says, I've been on, what is it, imiprazole for 8 to 10 years trying to get off of it.
Yeah, my daughter was on all of those antacids or
Mm.
PPIs, and you have to slowly wean off of them. And they unfortunately reduce your stomach acid so much that your stomach lining then thins out.
Mm.
So you have to gradually bring back the stomach acid, gradually thicken the stomach lining. And then also for my daughter, it led to SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Oh,
Then we have
wow.
to address that as well.
That's
So
what causes the bloating, right? The SIBO.
Yes, the
So if
bloating,
you, ladies, if you
indigestion.
have bloating and it's not just from overeating, because sometimes we realize I'm bloated and it might be more than bloating, right? So if you're eating like healthy food and you're not eating excessively and your stomach does get bigger from the foods you're eating, then it could be SIBO, right?
It could be SIBO, yeah.
Okay, so Sister Najma is saying from a young age, my fondest memories was coming home from school to a home cooked meal by my mom and sitting with my mom and eating it. It was followed by a pot of tea and cookies. Although I practice low carb and no sugar, I have to have that cup of tea and something because it has a deeper meaning. Yes, we do connect a lot of there's just a lot of emotion connected to the meals. I mean, sometimes just an aroma, a scent, sometimes I become nostalgic and I want to make a meal that my mother used to make or my father, and just those scents
Mhm.
brings back so much memories. The key is to have healthy alternatives. It's not about living a deprived life. That's what I love about paleo, right? You eat gourmet meals.
Yeah.
Tell us a
And
little bit about it.
you can do substitutions. So,
Yes.
the tea, maybe the black tea is too much caffeine for you. Maybe you need some herbal tea. Matcha green tea is really tasty. It's good, very, very healthy for you. There's also matcha green tea with reishi mushroom, which is even more healthy for you. So,
Mushroom?
reishi mushrooms, yeah,
Oh,
they're really, really good. There's teas out there and they taste great. So, it's just little substitutions. That cookie that you really like, try to look for something that's a paleo cookie or a keto
yes.
cookie with no sugar. So just little substitutions and you'll still get the same pleasure.
Yes, and I think that was the thing that made it easier was knowing that you can have paleo pancakes, you can have, paleo or keto cupcakes, like
Yeah,
whatever it is. It's just about using the right ingredients, and mainly it's about doing away with flour, whole wheat flour,
yeah,
replacing it with almond flour, coconut flour. Instead of using sunflower oil, you use avocado oil or coconut oil. And it's like these small substitutions that make a huge
huge
difference
difference.
in
Yep.
our health, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, what would be your advice to everyone joining in today if they have maybe they're suffering from some kind of ailments that they can't find answers to, or maybe they have children and they're just so overwhelmed? What would you tell them?
Oh, I guess I turned to finding a functional medicine doctor
Mm,
because at that time I was still like, I need a doctor to guide, me through this.
right.
But then I learned over time that, the, I could access the knowledge out there and figure out things myself.
Hmm.
And so that's what I did. But then I went a step further because I was so fascinated by all this. I went and, did a course in nutrition, functional nutrition. Not everybody, of course, has to do that. You can reach out to functional nutritionists to
Right.
guide you, to help you. I think now there's a lot of options out
There
there.
are a lot of options, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think it's
Yeah.
so much better to go to someone such as yourself. You're so experienced and you've gone through this, and it's so easy rather than trying to figure it out on your own.
Yes.
And Sister Sadia is saying, my doctor told me I might have irritable bladder. Could you please give me some guide? How do I fix it with food?
Ooh, that's a tough
That's a
one.
tough one. Okay, so what we can do is, join our group on Get Healthy with Haleh, post the question, and then you can have some time to reflect on it and answer. How about that?
Right.
Okay.
It requires a detailed, history.
Analysis.
Yeah, an
Yeah.
intake form. What are you eating? So a lot
We
more
can't
dialogue.
always get those quick answers, sisters. Everyone wants to give me the answers, but it really does have to take analysis. I was talking to another a holistic doctor, and she said the intake form is like 10 pages long, right? So if
Yeah.
you want a thorough analysis and you don't want just a quick fix, you got to go through the procedure, right?
Yeah.
What about probiotics? Are they safe?
Oh, totally safe. Yes.
Totally safe.
Effective, not all of them.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So there's two ways of thinking. There's a lot of products out there that say, there's just take this pill and it'll get to your colon and it'll populate. And it doesn't work like that.
Mm.
A lot of the bugs don't survive your stomach acid. So there's a type of probiotics called spore-based probiotics.
Spore-based
Right.
biotics.
The actual bacteria is encapsulated in a spore. So it makes it through the stomach and small intestine, and then they are actually able to populate in the colon. And there's many studies showing that.
Okay.
So that's one, good one to use. The other best way is actually to feed your gut bugs the food that they need to
Mm.
live happily.
We
So
need to feed the,
fermented
what did you
food,
say?
feed those bugs.
Feed those bugs. Okay,
Right.
we like
And
those bugs in our intestines. They're good
they
bugs.
want fiber, right? And
They want
fiber
fiber.
comes from vegetables and fruit. And so you need fermented foods is a really great way to feed those gut bugs. So
Okay.
kimchi, sauerkraut, pickles,
Kombucha. What
fermented
do you
food.
think about kombucha?
I personally don't like the taste. I've tried it once and was like, no way.
No pass, a no go. Okay. So, this Sister Alia is saying, how often should you weigh yourself?
Oh, I weigh myself probably once a week in the morning because I'm supporting my husband doing keto. He's on full keto. I'm on low carb keto. So my issue is I lose too much weight. So I have to watch my weight. So I weigh once
Okay.
a week, usually on a Monday
People are
morning.
saying, I wish I had that problem. I want to lose. Sister, tell us, how do you lose? That can be a problem. No, mashallah. And unfortunately, some people don't have sensitivity or understanding of how difficult it is. I've had clients who are underweight. They can't get they can't get to their optimal weight. And that can be an issue as well. So,
Right.
but you're not
Many
going to get much
doctors,
sympathy. I'm sorry.
many doctors say their toughest clients are the ones that are underweight, the ones
Oh,
that
okay.
can't gain weight. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
So that's a whole nother
yeah,
challenge, right? All
yes.
right. And then sister, my son has fatty liver. He is 14. What can I give him to deal with this problem?
So I would say all of us have fatty liver,
Okay.
and that's because of the amount of carbs we eat. So
Mm.
if you really want to help your son, you have to get him off carbs and all sugar.
No carb, no sugar. Bye bye. Tub
Yep.
of ice cream. Bye bye.
You can
Right.
reverse that fatty liver very easily,
Okay.
but
You
you
can
have to
reverse
get,
it. So that's good news.
yeah.
Okay, very good. And what are some of the alternatives for, what we're talking about? So we have lots of junk that we've become accustomed to. A lot of people relying on fast food. They're grabbing that bag of chips, the candy bar when they're feeling hungry at work or at school. So what are the alternatives?
Like you're doing the paleo, which is the whole food diet. So yes,
Right,
that requires a lot more cooking, but cooking can be fun. Cooking can be adventurous. It
right.
can involve all the kids, hubbies too.
Get them on board. Yes.
Yeah, so whole food diet is the best way to go. But now there's so many products out there, whether you're paleo or keto. Just read the ingredients and see what works for you.
Okay, I have a funny story to share. So this was over 12 years ago. Okay, 12, 15, maybe, yeah, 12, 15 years ago. It was gluten-free was just, they were just starting to find out about it, right? And what happened was that we were in New York, and New York it was very progressive. So they had like the paleo cupcakes and paleo pizza. So we were in New Jersey, okay? And I went to a restaurant and did I tell you the story before? No? Okay. So I go to the restaurant and I'm like, I want to make sure that they have gluten-free bread. I'm like, excuse me, do you have gluten-free bread? And the lady's like, you want free bread? I'm like, no, no, no. And she's saying it really loud, okay? And I'm like, no, gluten-free. She goes, we don't have free bread. And I said, it's gluten free. Look it up. It's going to be big. So that
Oh,
was my funny story with gluten-free bread. But the thing is, yeah, we just have to be more aware and educate ourselves. And it's so helpful to get the support of, the sisterhood, encouraging one another. It's so hard when you're by yourself. So
yeah,
we
yeah.
need to support one another. Inshallah, you guys can join us on the Healthy Muslim Women, Get Healthy with Haleh. And one sister is asking, cooking in air fryer, is it okay?
Yes, just what oil are you using,
Okay.
right?
Use
Yeah.
avocado oil, right?
Coconut oil, avocado oil, ghee. Yep.
Okay. They're gonna say ghee. You just freaked half the half the audience out.
Yep, yep.
Okay, I know. We have to relearn. We have to dismiss a lot of the myths. And maybe our next talk could be about the myths that are out there, right? Thinking that
Right.
fat is bad for you. Fat is your friend. I like to keep saying that.
Yes.
So the right kind of fat, right? So thank you so much for your time, for sharing your, amazing story about how you reverse these ailments in your children. And we're very excited to have you on the Facebook page.
Thank you. Thank you for honoring me. Thank you for
Of
including
course.
me.
Of
It's
course.
so far it's been amazing.
It is fun. It is a lot of fun. And we just have this beautiful sisterhood. Everyone is, cheerful and encouraging one another. And that's what we need, especially during this pandemic.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Inshallah, we will see you in the group. Salam alaikum.
Like,
Bye bye.